One of the best things about roller coasters is how different they all are from one another. On some, you're soaring over graceful hills and drops, while on others, you're tearing through tight inversions and snappy transitions. Some you're on your stomach, some you're standing up, some you're spinning. There are just so many different types of coasters out there that make every ride feel unique. But obviously, not every model is created equal. A manufacturer can create both the most beautiful, smooth, and graceful machine known to man and the Nut Crusher 3000. So today in this video, I wanted to sort through the very best. I wanted to look at every coaster model out there and pick the 7 best. Why 7, you may ask? I don't know, it just felt right. So without any more dilly-dallying, these are the 7 best coaster models out there today. Okay, I know this one might have a couple people scratching their heads, but let me explain. I really like Eurofighters, and I think they're probably the most underrated model out there. The 2 I've been on are TMNT Shellraiser and Mystery Mind, and I feel like those encapsulate all of Eurofighters pretty well. TMNT Shellraiser and Takabisha, to that extent, are basically the flagship Euros. They have the super steep drops, the intense launches, and the massive inversions. Pretty much everything you'll find on a standard Eurofighter will be found on this ride, and it does all of those things really well. I've talked extensively about why I love this ride, but in short, the launch is super powerful, the inversions are all amazing, and the drop is just as weird and mind-bending as you would expect. Mystery Mind is a completely different ride though. It's a lot more compact and has a lot of weirder Gerstlauer elements, mostly because it's built through and around this tower structure. It also has some really cool themed areas, but you can't really tell from this POV because they're mostly in the dark. I think this one's kind of a sleeper pick, but it definitely deserves a spot on this list. It's just so versatile with what it can be, and there are so many quality ones out there that fly under the radar. Also, it's not that common that rides of this scale only have one car. It makes every element have a much grander magnitude because there's no rest of the train slowing you down. And that's a pretty good representation of what makes the entire model good. It's unique. There are no other coasters out there that feel like a Eurofighter, and only one other model that is as flexible. I think it's the most underrated model out there and definitely worthy of a spot. Okay, I don't really have much to say about this because I've only been on 2 and they're the exact same ride, but I'll speak on what I can. Wonder Woman is one of the most intense rides I've been on, and it's largely because of the type of ride. On paper, this is a very standard layout. It has very standard elements when you list them out in words on a pretty boring plot of land. What makes it so special is how the ride runs. Being in a single file line is a game changer. Every element is snappier and more intense, and it's so much more nerve-wracking climbing that lift hill alone. And the smaller Raptors take this to the next level with their even faster pacing. Like, come on, that looks like a freaking cartoon. This is like the most futuristic model out right now, and they're going to continue to become even more popular in the years to come, so they definitely deserved a spot on the list. From a newcomer to a classic, we have the B&M Invert. These have been a personal favorite of mine for a while because of just how intense they are. This is pretty easily the most purely intense coaster on this list with the snappy transitions, tight inversions, and breakneck pacing. I love how relentless these rides are from start to finish, no matter how long the ride is. I also love how it knows what it is. There's never been an invert that's trying to give a lot of airtime, or like a nice scenic view, or a slow graceful ride. These rides are known for being stupidly intense, so that's what they are. They play to their strengths and never back down. And some may say that that's repetitive and they all have a similar feeling, but I would actually disagree. Banshee is just as fast and intense as Batman, but for different reasons. Banshee is like a mogul of a ride with its powerful, dominating forces weighing down on you during every inversion. Batman is a snappy speed machine that whips you into different directions almost every moment of the way. They feel different, but they also achieve the same thing. It's just a very classic model that'll be remembered for a long time, and rides like Great Bear, Montu, and even just Batman the Ride will all stick with me for the rest of my coaster riding days. This is a quick one because there's not a whole lot to these rides. The launch makes the ride, and while that's pretty much all of it for most of them, that's pretty much all you need. OG Dragster and King Dakar are 2 of the most nerve-wracking and rewarding rides out there. No matter how many times you've been on them, you still feel your heart bursting out of your chest every time you're sitting on that launch track. They're the only rides I still intentionally staple myself with the restraint because I have genuine fear getting on them. But when you finally launch through and make it throughout the layout, you feel like you've accomplished something. And that's something you can't really manufacture. This model is just a hit of adrenaline and a feeling of relief that no other coaster can replicate. No matter how precise the transitions are or big the airtime moments are, the rush won't come close to the feeling of a hydraulic launch, which alone is what makes this model this high. Now we're in the top 3, and this is where the big boys come out to play. You knew this model was going to be on the list. I mean, how could it not? This is the Enthusiast Dream model. It has all the airtime and cool elements you could ever dream of while still being innovative, smooth, reliable, unique, and crowd pleasers. There are very few flaws with this ride model, but there are a couple that I do want to point out before I get to the good stuff, because it wouldn't be a Coastunes video if I didn't complain. First of all, these rides have a tendency to be a little short. Twisted Cyclone, Iron Rattler, Goliath, these rides are just a few hills or twists from really breaking into that top tier. Now that's not always a bad thing, because rides like Outlaw Run, for example, could be too intense and too exhausting if they were a little bit longer, but others like the ones I mentioned before, I feel like they just end a little too soon. Also, these rides always have super long lines. But other than that, I don't really have any complaints. They're smooth, they're packed with some of the best elements on any coasters, they're trend-setting, they're creative, they're grand, they're fast, they're basically everything I want out of roller coasters. I just don't think I've been on enough of them. If I'd gotten on a couple more of those elite ones like Airy Force 1 or Iron Gwazi or Zadra, maybe this would rank a little higher, but for right now it's going to come in third place because I've just had some more great experiences on the other top two. If you think these rides are boring, you can cry about it in the corner. When people think of big, scary roller coasters, this is what they think of. Those massive, intimidating, and stomach-dropping, inducing drops are the exact thing people are looking for when people come to theme parks. They're just really big crowd pleasers and have always been some of my favorite rides wherever I go. This is, in my opinion, the pinnacle of B&M and will probably always be their highest quality model. There's just something magical about a good B&M Hyper. It's smooth, it's graceful, it's really pretty to look at, and even though they're usually the most popular ride in the park, the capacity is just so high that the lines are never even that bad. I have some of my best memories marathoning Nitro with my friends, and to be honest, you know why Hypers are great if you've been on one, and even if you haven't been on one. I don't need to talk your ear off about something you've heard a million times. I'm just gonna move to number one. You've probably noticed that I haven't mentioned this model yet because I've always praised this model every chance that I get, and that is because this is the number one pick for the best model I've ever been on. The Intamin Blitz is really just the best of roller coasters in one clean package, and that's because of how flexible these rides are. They really can do it all. You can have a rip your face off intense speed machine like Maverick, or you can have graceful family cruisers like Cheetah Hunt, or maybe a themed but still intense ride like Velocicoaster or Terran. Or maybe you want to go all out in theming and have a motorcycle coaster with Hagrid's. There's just so many different type of blitzes out there that it's hard to really compare with any other type of coaster because it just has elements of everything, and it really does excel at all of them. There's no better launch model, no better model to theme around, no better model to fit in long sprawling plots of land or to fit in tight compact jams. It's always shocking to me how versatile these rides are and how well they are at being versatile. The new restraints are also amazing. They're really free and open but still feel secure and have the perfect handlebars to grip on. And even though this model is decades old and is cemented as an OG in the industry, Intamin is still innovating on them with the switch track and the double spine track to make sure this model stays fresh for the future years to come. I don't really know if there's a lot more I can say about this model. You just need to get out there and ride one for yourself because you'll feel the quality and creativity oozing out of the ride. It's a solid number one, and I don't know if anything will really be able to top it. But that's just my ranking. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. What would you move around, and if I missed any models? Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. If you made it this far, comment turtle down below to show your support. Again, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.